somehow England find themselves in a very strong position. And in this series, they haven't actually been in strong positions. They won a game from being a long way behind. They've often been playing catch-up, but now you'd have to say at the end of that day, they are on top.
Yeah, they've had a really good 2 days. You go back to that first session on day one and you think, oh, that was probably India's, those 5 wickets. The face of Ben Stokes walking off at lunch, I think we all expected maybe England to get bowled out for a 180, 200, and then it wouldn't have been, that above par score. But once they got to 353 and that magnificent 100 from Joe Root, I mentioned yesterday that Common Sense ball introduced itself to Bazball, and it was a real nice combination. And it's got England to I think a well above par score. And then with the ball in hand, I have to say the skipper once again, he's just got that Midas touch of, first and foremost, the selection. I think we have to give the selectors a huge amount of credit for the selections on this tour in general. But to pick out a young spinner, I know Jack will know Shoaib Bashir a lot more than me, but to pick out a young spinner who's played just a handful of first-class games, not had a huge amount of success, he's not had 6 and 7-fers regularly, to then throw him into a tour like India up against players that are pretty much born from the age of 1 minute facing spinning, and to deliver today. All right, the pitch is doing a little bit and there's a bit there for all the bowlers, particularly with the cracks. You just keep landing on a certain spot, something will naturally happen. But the consistency of this young bowler that England have produced was remarkable today. And the way that Ben just kind of manoeuvres his fielders, the way that he goes on the attack, then he kind of just spreads the field. His captaincy for Sarfaraz Khan's dismissal, just putting cover point back to say to Sarfaraz, look, if you want to try and play the drive, he opens the blade. The outside edge was found to Tom Hartley. Ben Stokes, as much as the day's about Bashir, as much as yesterday's about Joe Root, again, I thought Ben Stokes' captaincy was absolutely magnificent today.
Jack, I want to talk to you about Shoaib. Just a reminder of the match situation. England making 353, India 219 for 7. So England with a lead still of 134. But Shoaib Bashir, if he can pick up one more wicket, he's got 4 at the moment, 4 for 84. If he picks up one more wicket, he'll become the youngest English off-spinner to take a 5-wicket haul. Pat Pocock currently has that record at 21 years and 256 days. Shoaib's a full year and a bit younger than that. Jack, you know him well. He seems to have an iron temperament.
Yeah, he looks at home out there, really, in terms of the occasion and everything that I think about when I was playing my first couple of games for England, and he just doesn't look fazed by it at all. And it's because his skills are so good, and he's, I guess everyone's got their journey, and obviously it's happened quite quickly from first class cricket to test cricket. But I think before that there was a really good bowler who couldn't quite get his opportunity at county, and he's really had to work for that. And I remember Steve Davis. I'm really close with Steve Davis, and he mentioned to me that he played the second team game with this guy called Bash, and I watched him at Taunton Vale, I think the week after, and straight away you can see his attributes, and he's got a really strong action and loves bowling, and he's just speaking to him, he's just in love with the craft of bowling spin, and I think that's going to take him a long way. So he's I guess everyone's quite surprised. I'm not so surprised from what I've seen of him over the last year or so, and it's great to see.
He bowled at quite some pace, didn't he? I mean, it was noticeable he was frequently in the sort of even the mid 90 kilometres an hour. Is that something that you guys had talked about for these sorts of pitches?
Definitely talk about pace a lot in international cricket in general. I think something that some guys have to learn, and I did have to learn going from county cricket to international cricket, was maybe how I could bowl a little bit quicker at times. And he's got that naturally, so I think that's an amazing thing. His control of length today was just amazing, and I think, like you say, that natural pace that he's spinning the ball from is high, which is going to be good.
He got his opportunity to put England in such a strong position because England recovered so well from 112 for 5, in large part thanks to a magnificent 100 from Joe Root. And earlier today, Stefan Shemmald, who's out for us out in India, was speaking to Joe.
Joe, it's lovely to see you. Thanks for talking to the TMS podcast. Just sum up that day that England have had.
I think it's another really strong day. to be able to say we walk off here with a reasonable lead. I know we still need a couple of 3 wickets, but against a very good team, against spin in particular, to make the inroads that we have and play as we have done today, it's a really fine effort on that wicket.
What about the way that your spinners bowled, in particular Shoaib Bashir, because you had a great view from first slip?
I think he's excellent control, excellent skill, asked very difficult questions for long periods of time, and that's obviously going to bring wickets, especially on a surface like that when you've got the amount of variation, and in particular up and down bounce. So he was brilliant. I can say I think the way he bowls is a good indication of his character and his personality. He's cheeky and he's funny. He's a great lad to have around the dressing room. Really enjoy his company, and it's really nice to see him come in and do so well.
It's a remarkable story, isn't it, for Bashir in particular? Only played 6 first-class games before this tour, still playing club cricket last summer, and here he is bowling to some of the finest players of spin in the world. Yeah,
and like I say, imagine being 15, 16-year-old as a young off spinner or left-arm spinner, hearing that story. I think it just shows you how close you can actually be, and how you should keep dreaming and chasing it and giving yourself the best chance to work at your game, and you just never know where you could end up.
What about your innings, Joe? From 112 for 5, really standing up when the team needed it most.
Yeah, I think one thing you get when you're batting it, well, you're not opening the batting, is you get a good indication of how the wicket's likely to play and how it is playing before you get out there. So I had I knew roughly that how I wanted to approach it and have a reasonable game plan of how I wanted to get runs on that surface. And it's nice to finally contribute with the bat. And it's been a lean few games for me, and it's been very frustrating. You pride yourself, especially. I do like coming to this part of the world, and I feel like my game is set up nicely to play well here. So it was good to spend some time out there, build some good partnerships, and get what feels like, we'll see tomorrow, but what feels like a very good first innings score on that wicket.
Now you must know the attention that your dismissal against Jasprit Bumrah in the 3rd test attracted. What do you make of the debate around how your batting fits into the style that Ben and Brendan often want the team to play in?
Yeah, there's a few things about it, to be honest. I mean, I think Bazball's it's a media frenzy that it's for them. It's for, I don't think that the common I think there's a common misconception about how we go about things, and at times I think it's misconstrued and has been seen to be an arrogant way to look at the game of cricket, but that's not how we want to do things. We want to be smart, and we want to just keep looking at how far we can take the ability within our dressing room. You talk about being aggressive with the bat. Look at our top order 2 years ago. Look at the amount of times we were 20 for 2. Look how frequently now we're 50 plus for none. It's 100% been a mindset shift that has got the best out of players that have been in and around this team for more than the time that Baz and Stokesy have been involved as captain. They've experienced a lot of Test cricket before they came in, and you look at the change in them and the ability that has flourished from the way that we look at the game now. And one bad game doesn't change, I guess, the ability within the dressing room. And I think people will look at that dismissal and they will think it might have been arrogant or stupid, or I'm trying to play how I think is the best way to go and score runs against a very good team. Everyone's saying, you get through Bumrah's spell there, they're a bowler down. If we get rid of Bumrah by hitting him out the attack an over earlier, then it's even more in our favour. And you can't foresee what happens beyond that either. So I think you just try and trust, as an experienced player, the amount of cricket I play, you trust your instincts in the moment. The reason that I've been able to play as many games as I have and been fortunate enough to play as many games as I have is because under pressure, a lot of times I've managed to make those right decisions. It's people will have their own views. we're all England fans within that dressing room. We want the best for English cricket, and we will continue to keep doing everything we can to win as many games as we can and get the best out of each other and the best out of the group. So I thought we played those conditions brilliantly the last couple of days, and it'd be a big test for us in the second innings. Can we do it again?
Will we see that shot again?
100% at some point. But again, it's not just this. Oh, I fancy it. It's a careless, unthought out decision in a split second. You're looking at how it is going to really affect the scenario of the game, and I didn't execute it well enough on that occasion. You also if you look at it closely, it did keep a little bit low. So it could have worked out very differently. That's that's how it goes sometimes. It could have dragged it on trying to drive it for extra cover, and it wouldn't have been a media storm, would it?
Just finally, Joe, look ahead for us. I know the plan is take the wickets in the morning quickly and get batting again to set them an unchaseable target, but just tell us about that pitch in particular. What do you expect that it's going to do?
I expect that there'll be periods where it feels a little bit and seems a little bit docile, and then things could happen very quickly. I think it's a difficult wicket to start your innings on, and I think use of the new ball is very crucial. So how that's negotiated is going to be really important, and how we as a group first and foremost finish things off in the morning, and then approach those partnerships which are so crucial in games like this. But yeah, any sort of a lead on that pitch is going to be vital.
Lovely. Thanks very much, Joe. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was Joe Root talking to Stefan Shemmelt out in India. Jack, I want to come to you first. He said it's a mindset thing. There's been a change of mindset. You've been in that dressing room. Can you describe what that change looks like?
Not really, because that's the one thing I think we all struggle to kind of describe, and sometimes that's maybe where the confusion is from the outside compared to the inside, and we end up looking arrogant and looking like we're way too positive at times. But I think, so in answer to your question, not really, but I think for me, it was about, for me, it gave me belief in, understanding what my role was, and backing a certain way of doing it. And if it didn't come off, that was all right, as long as we stuck to the way of doing it. So it very much made you more in the moment, not worrying about my place or what if I don't get wickets today, or what if I don't go at 2 and over. It was a lot of what ifs before, and a lot of kind of head was probably scrambled a little bit, and that was all taken away. So I think that would be the big thing from an individual point of view. We had it feels like a team sport again, where we're all understand what we're trying to bring to the team, and we're contributing to a team sport, whereas before it did feel a little bit more like an individual sport where you were trying to see how long you could survive in playing Test cricket, if that makes sense.
It does. You're quoted as saying, is this true, that we may not be the best team, but we'll be the bravest? And is that sort of the essence?
I said to Stokesy after the India game at Edgbaston, where we chased all those runs, and I was like, I was speaking to Stokesy, and I was like, it's amazing. Like, it was just a realization that actually I felt like India had dominated us for the first half of that game, if not a little bit more. And then that third innings, the way they kind of went about it, was maybe a little bit safe when they were on top, and they didn't really push that through and see that home. And then we kind of got back into the game and then pushed on. And actually, it wasn't down to our skills being better than India or being a better team on paper. It was about how we approached the game. And I think that was a realization that actually, if we get our mindset right and we are brave enough in certain situations, then actually we can come out on top. Even I'm not as good as Jadeja, but that I was on the winning team and he was on the losing team, and like that kind of thing can happen in cricket if you get things right. So I think that was a nice moment for us to kind of realise that the way we were doing things was working.
Michael, we heard from Joe Root there. He got to bat first. He didn't have to bowl first for a start. And maybe he's just been not in the best of form. He didn't have a great World Cup. And and it came together for him yesterday. Didn't it? He's a great player, and it all came back together.
Yeah, great players don't take long to get back into the runs, and that's exactly what Joe's done this week by just changing his method slightly. And I think, all the talk of the media storm, it was just a sensible discussion when you're 226 runs behind India on day 3 and Ashwin's not there to play that shot at that time. I think it's absolutely fair for people to say why. Now, if England go out to bat tomorrow and they're 110 in front, I want the Baz bowlers to go out and play. When you're on top, that is when you take the game to the opposition. There are times in Test match cricket when you're not on top and you just have to play the percentages. And when you talk about bravery, I thought yesterday's middle session was the bravest session that I've seen England play for a long while, because they went against their natural trait. They went against this Baz ball method, which, I know Joe's just said, the team don't like to talk about, they don't like to use that word. Well, there has been a book written about Baz ball, which most of the England team contributed to. So at the time of contributing to a book, they've not seemed to mind it. And I think it is all tongue-in-cheek and a bit fun. It's aggression. It's playing cricket the right way. I've absolutely loved it. But yesterday's middle session just sent me the message that this team are learning, because you can't play aggressively all the time. You'd love to be able to. Even the great Australian side of the late 90s, early 2000s, who went on the front foot pretty much from ball one, even they went down in the gears at times in Test match cricket. And for the England side to be successful and win trophies and to pick up the Ashes in a year and a half time, to win this series here, I think they'll win this Test match and then go to Dharamsala, where I believe it's 5 degrees and sleeting. So that might be an iffy week up in the hills. I just think, I see enough talent and enough depth in the England team now, and 2 brilliant leaders that, if they can just learn like they did yesterday to go up and down in the gears at the right times and almost bluff the opposition. I think most teams now think England are going to come out with a bat and just play aggressively all the time. Now, what did Joe Root and Ben Folkes do yesterday afternoon? They didn't go all in with the chips. They just played the cards a little bit smarter. And I think Rohit Sharma was a little bit perplexed by that, because he didn't have fielders around the bat. He was probably expecting Ben and Joe to come dancing down or sweeping, reverse sweeping. He was probably thinking, they'll make a mistake and they'll get out. Naturally, that's been happening over the course of the series. Well, that partnership for me, I think it was 86, scoring at 2.3s, a little bit of the boring stuff, a bit of the old traditional kind of Test match style cricket from the 1960s and 70s. That is what makes a really good Test match team. And yes, get on the front foot in the second innings, please. That's the way to play cricket. You're ahead and you can really attack India in the second innings. It might be that England look to score at 5s for 50 overs and score 250 more, and that's going to be plenty on this kind of surface. But it's just choosing the right moments, and it was absolutely glorious to see Joe Root just playing time and just batting. He's now got 10 Test centuries against India. That's remarkable in itself. And the reason why he's done that is because he's had this really simple method against the spinners, and he went back to that yesterday.
England then lost their last 3 wickets for 6 runs. The less said about Shoaib Bashir's shot, perhaps the better. I'm not going to put Jack under the spotlight here because he plays with him for Somerset in England. But Michael, briefly describe what happened to Shoaib Bashir's second ball.
Bizarrely, I loved it. I don't know. Look, you've got your best player at the other end on 120 odd, and he's controlling the innings. He's in his second Test match. I guess. Well, I don't know what happens, Jack, in the dressing room, but I suggest someone might just say, look, it might be worth you just surviving a few balls to give Joe the chance to get down the striking end. Jimmy Anderson played a nifty shot as well, and he's played over 180 Test matches. But look, what you're going to get with this England side, Dan, you're not going to get the purest innings all the time. I just thought the middle part of the innings, from 5 down, was the cleverest and the smartest, and common sense prevailed for that period of time. And we have to kind of play a few cards at times. Just okay, we'll give you the Bashir shot and we'll give you the Jimmy Anderson shot as long as Joe Root plays sensibly in the middle. I'll take that.
One thing I will say on that is just when I was in Pakistan. And I reverse swept my first ball. I went for the reverse hit, first ball bowled, and I walked off and I felt awful. And Baz came straight up to me in the dressing room and said, I like that. He's like, that shows that we are going to give it to them. And I was like, does it? And I sort of thought, but that looks awful. And he was like, nah, it's great. And I was like, that's just a little example of how, I guess those moments where let's be honest, it fails whatever you're trying. It's about, Basel try and flip that and go how, what message it sends, or and obviously he's a bit of bluffing in that, because he was just getting me ready because I was about to go and bowl, and he wants me to be feeling good, right? So but yeah, Bash, I'm sure will everyone will be getting around him, and obviously went out and bowled so well, so maybe that was down to him needing to prove a few people that he was switched on.
Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's plenty of cricket left in this game. England's lead 134, but a pretty sticky partnership at the end there, the eighth wicket partnership against the older ball, much as England had with their eighth wicket partnership between Kuldeep and Jarrell. They've been going for a while. They've put on 42. That ball's 73 overs old. Jack, I guess it's bittersweet watching the games from where you are, because you're looking at that pitch and thinking there's quite a bit in that. But Michael alluded to this earlier, that it's very difficult to predict. There's periods of the match where it seems to go flat. What's your assessment of the pitch?
I mean, I've played on some spinning wickets in my career, and I think it's like any of them in a way, in terms of, like, you have these periods where it feels like it's doing all sorts, and then suddenly, for not too sure why, like, I mean, sometimes I've felt like, morning dew can make it do everything a little bit quicker, and so there's a bit of a morning time, but this morning not a lot happened. Then I've thought, is it when the ball's hard it does more? But sometimes there just seems to be like this like magical little half an hour period where things are happening, and especially, you get one and then a new batter in it makes such a difference, them getting used to that wicket, and it feels like a different wicket that you're bowling on. So again, it's probably about patience in those times on these wickets where, if there's not much happening between those wicket balls, that's the key. And I think England did that really well today. Big bits of pressure built up, and then the wicket would come. So and that's the positive about, I guess, how we'll go about things with the bat. I think it really suits us to kind of go out and play our positive games, and if they can't control the rate, that's really going to affect them.
Now, Jack, since we've got you, can you give us a quick update on the injury situation? Yet again, you're not having the best of luck, but
No.
You're going to have surgery sometime in the coming week, yes?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going through a bit of a difficult time at the moment. Hopefully there's some good stuff to come after it. I'm having a minor surgery on Tuesday. I mean, it's not too serious. I just need to get rid of the rest of this swelling, and we tried to drain it and that didn't work. So I need to just have a bit of keyhole surgery, get rid of the swelling, and I can get the kind of range back in my knee and get my strength back in my quad and crack on from there. So I think it's good that I'm getting it sorted, and but yeah, it's another minor setback, but hopefully there's some good stuff to come.
How do you handle those setbacks? Because the disappointment,
Not
this
very
is an
well.
incredible series. I mean, this is another remarkable series that England play in.
Yeah.
You missed out on so much of the Ashes. You're missing out on so much of this one.
Yeah.
How do you cope with that psychologically?
I mean, I've got a lot of good people around me, family, friends, and the team as well. Another real positive of the environment and stuff is, people don't just kind of forget about you. The boys have been in touch and, sending their love and stuff. So that's really, really helpful. And it's kind of, it's great to watch the lads doing their thing. It's also very hard to watch because you're desperate to be a part of it. So, But
are you in touch with them as part of the Spinners WhatsApp group and whatnot? Are you in touch with Tom and
yes.
Shoaib?
Yeah. And there's like there's just such a good feel around the group, and like what I mentioned earlier about it feeling like a team sport again, like it's nice because it feels like it's not all about you, and you can actually sort of put your energy into other guys and understand that you're having a low, but you just got to do everything you can to get back and then contribute to the team how you can when you're back. So that's my focus now. And I've done a lot of reflecting, and there's good moments and bad moments, but I just feel I guess really kind of I try to stay excited about what's to come rather than what's gone, and crack on.
Michael, I think all cricket fans, neutrals as well, will be really excited by this series and the match situation. England having bounced back from an incredibly heavy defeat in the last game. They have not by any means won this game, but they are in a really good position. What do India have to do to get back into this? And what is a chaseable target, do you think, on this wicket?
Oh, I think anything over 200 batting last is not going to be easy. England from this position will fancy getting plenty more than that. I think the danger is that I think there's going to be a team bowled out cheaply on this kind of surfaces. I would expect it to be the team batting last. But if India get another 50 or 60 and get within 70, well, it makes that third innings of the match. And we've seen it in the history of Test match cricket. That third innings can be quite a precarious one. But I just think when England are on top and they're such a powerful batting unit, and I'm not saying they've got a license, but it will only take one or two of them to come off. And that score will race around, and Rohit Sharma will find it difficult to go on the attack with his fields, and he'll have to spread the field, and then the ones and twos become available. If England use their brains from here and play smart cricket, I just think with the pitch playing like it's done, you've got to remember, we're just into day 2, and it's deteriorated a huge amount inside 24 hours. I can't see suddenly it's going to get any better. So as long as England keep the cool, and even if there's a partnership in the morning, there might be, these two played nicely. Even if they do get within 70 or 80, I still think England hold all the cards, and they've just got to make sure that they're not that team that gets bowled out cheaply. And that third innings can be a tricky period. But I just think this England side in 2 years, every time they've been on top, I guess Edgbaston in that first Test match, the second innings, they allowed Australia a sniff with that chase. And they've got it in them to play a few iffy shots. But I would expect England to dominate the game from here. I mean, had the first 2 days that they've had, and the mindset and the determination, you can see it in Ben Stokes' eyes. You saw it all day. He didn't miss a beat. And I would be amazed from this position if England don't go on and level the series. Still a long way to go. Still 10 wickets, obviously, in the second innings, 3 in the first, and a bit of action with the bat in hand. But with this pitch, it's a strange pitch. I have to say, India have prepared a strange wicket, which in a funny way has brought England into the equation, because batting first is always a big plus, but when the pitch deteriorates so quickly, it almost nullified India's first innings, which is not what India would have wanted.